Tifu by saying dogs love weed. Call pet poison. I've been working in veterinary medicine for about 5 years now, all in an emergency setting. It's fast-paced, unpredictable, and often emotionally draining, but it's also incredibly rewarding and honestly, fun. For most of that time, I've been a receptionist. The first person clients see when they rush in, panicked about their fur baby. Recently, I started doing more hands-on work, helping with holds and assisting during x-rays. It's been exciting and exhausting, and I feel like I'm gaining valuable experience. Working in emergency vet medicine long enough, you start to notice patterns. You learn which symptoms indicate trouble and which ones can wait. One of the most common things we see is dogs coming in high on weed. I'm not exaggerating when I say it happens all the time. Sometimes I can look at a dog and think, weed? That's how routine it is. Dogs are drawn to it. If an owner leaves their edibles or even just crumbs where an unattended puppy can reach, that dog is likely to eat it. When it happens, the symptoms are easy to spot. They get wobbly, sometimes even peeing on themselves because they lose coordination. They often become lethargic and may flinch dramatically if you move too quickly near them. It can look scary if you've never seen it before, but once you have, you'll never mistake it for anything else again. It's become almost a running joke at work. I've walked to the back and said, "Hey, I think we've got a weed dog up front." The techs know exactly what I mean. Within minutes, someone's grabbing a drug test, another person's pulling fluids and our go-to anti-nausea medication, and the team gets ready to handle the situation. It's such a common part of our week that I can usually call it before the vet even takes a look. Honestly, I'm rarely wrong. One night, we got a call that started like many others. A man was on the other end, his voice trembling, clearly on the verge of tears. His dog had gotten into some weed while they were out, and he was panicking. He kept saying he was a terrible owner and didn't know what to do. So I did what I always do. I tried to calm him down. I told him that it happens all the time, that dogs love the taste, and that it doesn't make him a bad pet parent. I explained what we typically see. They get wobbly, sleepy, and might even pee themselves, but most dogs come out of it just fine. I told him the next step was to call the pet poison helpline. They have toxicologists on staff who can give detailed advice based on the amount ingested, the size of the dog, and the specific product involved. Unfortunately, that call does cost money, but it's worth it for accurate guidance. Plus, if you bring in a dog that's ingested something inappropriate, we have you call pet poison right there in the office. The doctors prefer that. I also explained that our clinic was closing soon, and since his dog was already showing symptoms, we couldn't induce vomiting anymore. Once the weed's been metabolized, there's not much we can do other than supportive care. Fluids, anti-nausea medication, a dark room, and time. That's standard procedure in vet medicine. He thanked me, sounding relieved, and said I had calmed him down more than anyone else could. I even laughed and told him, seriously, don't beat yourself up. You're not alone. This happens way more than people realize. A few days later, I found out that this pet owner was actually friends with the clinic owner. He called him to express his gratitude for my help, saying I made him feel human again, and that I had taken the time to explain things clearly and kindly when he was at his wit's end. So imagine my shock when I was called into the office and fired. Apparently, they framed it as me giving medical advice over the phone. I was completely blindsided. I had followed our protocol, directed the client to pet poison, and advised him to seek emergency care if needed. I didn't diagnose anything or create a treatment plan. I just reassured a panicked pet owner and provided general information based on established procedure. But because this client was connected to the clinic owner, my compassion and competence were twisted into unauthorized medical advice. I can't even describe how heartbreaking it feels. I loved my job, absolutely loved it. I thrived in the chaos, the adrenaline, the animals, and even the anxious owners. I was good at it. 2. I knew how to keep my cool and explain things in a way that made sense, easing the fear of pet owners when their world was falling apart. And now, it's just gone. I know it's not the end of the world. Once I stop crying, I'll pick myself up and start job hunting again. But it's hard not to feel betrayed by a field I've poured my heart into for years. All I wanted to do was help. The animal, the owner, the situation. And somehow, doing exactly that cost me my job. Maybe someday I'll look back on this and see it as a turning point. Perhaps I'll find a clinic that values empathy as much as efficiency. But for now, I'm just trying to breathe, grieve, and remind myself that one bad decision by management doesn't erase 5 years of hard work and care.